All right, friends, so it's too often that I hear people talking about going out to the wilderness when they really just mean going to a state park or going to a campground or something like that. The idea of a wilderness has changed a lot over history and over time. And now, how they're defined by our public land management system in America, it's a very particular thing. So today we're going to be clearing up some of these misconceptions about it and talking a little about what makes wilderness areas so dang special. Guess what, friends? We got through the wilderness. So wilderness, the word as we know it today, we first saw it in around 1200 CE in Old English, written as Wil Dior, which means like a wild animal or a wild deer. Today we are going to be talking about the strongest land protections our government can put on an area, congressionally designated wildernesses. So aside from the abstract idea of what a wilderness is, like a wild place, or like the Old English people thought, a wild animal, a wild deer, that wild, a place of wild. So aside from that idea of what a wilderness is, let's talk about it from a legal sense. Today we are going to be talking about the strongest land protections our government can put on an area, congressionally designated wildernesses. These areas have the strictest management rules to protect the natural area in as close to a pristine state as possible. To add or undo any of these protections, an act or amendment must pass through the congressional branch of our federal government. So there has to be a full vote and approval process being signed by the president to change any of these things. It's unlike a national monument, which the president, and like President Trump and Bears Ears, with a swipe of a pen, he can remove protections. With a wilderness, it takes an act of Congress. A lot harder to do. To set the foundation of our understanding, let's start with a bit of history. The rules that govern wildernesses here in America are all laid out in the Wilderness Act of 1964, which was primarily authored by a man named Howard Zahniser. Zahniser was truly an amazing early environmental activist. For nearly 20 years, he helped lead the Wilderness Society as executive secretary, executive director, and editor of The Living Wilderness, a publication. He attempted to pass the Wilderness Act into law well over 10 times, but it didn't get ratified and signed into law until Mr. Zahniser had passed away. His widow was present when it was finally signed by President Lyndon Johnson. Most notably in this act is what Zahniser defined as what a wilderness is. This succinct and poetic definition is used as a legal definition to this day. Quote, "A wilderness, in contrast with those areas where man and his own works dominate the landscape, is hereby recognized as an area where the earth and its community of life are untrammeled by man, where man himself is a visitor who does not remain." This is what we mean when we talk about a wilderness in the land management sense. And I think more people need to start using this definition when they use the word wilderness. For me, it almost holds a place of holiness in my heart. It's very strange, but let me explain. Land that receives this protection is determined by the following criteria. The area must have a minimal human footprint, opportunities for unconfined recreation, at least 5,000 acres, and some sort of educational, scientific, or historic value. To compare the variety of different public lands, public land managers use what is called the recreation opportunity spectrum. To show you where wildernesses are on this spectrum, they are all the way on the far left which provide opportunities for solitude, risk-taking, and self-reliance. On the far right of the spectrum are the most developed areas, which provide more opportunities for more comfort, security, and social opportunities. All congressionally declared wildernesses fit into this primitive category. In these areas, there's no motorized use whatsoever, and it is the most powerful protection we can put on an area. Congress has to vote to declare these areas, and it comes with very strict rules for use inside of a wilderness area. So this brings up many pros and cons when considering the management of these areas. First of all, there's absolutely no mechanical assistance allowed in these areas. Land managers aren't allowed to even use chainsaws to help keep hiking trails open. All trail work must be conducted with hand tools like hand saws, axes, and McLeod tools. This makes upkeep for any hiking trail in wildernesses that much more of a project. Consider this next time you find yourself hiking in a wilderness and think about how much work had to be done to even make that trail possible. If you want to learn a little bit more about that, I have a video. You can see what trail work in a wilderness looks like. In wildernesses, even mountain bikes are banned. For long-distance trails with many mountain bike users, such as the Arizona Trail, mountain bike bypasses have to be created that circumnavigate these wild areas to obey these strict land management laws. Another difficulty posed by not only the isolation experienced in these vast, pristine natural areas, is the fact that in the case of an emergency, help can be many hours or even days away from you. Frequently, horse teams are utilized in search and rescue operations in order to cover as much ground as possible without using any sort of mechanical or motorized assets. Congressionally designated wilderness areas can only be on federal public land. This means they can be in national parks, national forests, national wildlife refuges, or even on Bureau of Land Management land. Most commonly, wilderness areas are found in national forests and some national parks. But, for example, in the Grand Canyon, it's a national park, and well over 90% of the park could be considered to have wilderness qualities, but it has not been voted on by Congress to add that protection because a national park also comes with congressional protection. But many of these areas in national parks, such as in the Grand Canyon, are managed in such a way that is comparable to as if they would be a designated wilderness. The very first congressionally designated wildernesses were passed along with the Wilderness Act. Currently, there are 758 congressionally designated wildernesses in the USA. That puts 109,511,966 acres under the strongest land management protection our government has the power of instantiating. But there are 6 states that don't have any congressionally designated wildernesses. These are Connecticut, Delaware, Iowa, Kansas, Maryland, and Rhode Island. Next time someone starts talking about wildernesses, think about this video. Think about what that actually means. How amazing and how lucky we are that our government puts such strict protections on some bits of land that they will be completely untouched by man for as long as our government stands. To have access to such raw nature, for me, right in my backyard, really is a blessing. To not have to be around busy city streets, loud highway noises, to actually get out there into the mountains and experience something truly humbling in a way. Anyway, I hope this video might have inspired you to think about how special our public lands are a little bit differently. I might consider doing some more videos along these lines, maybe about national parks or other public lands and the ways that they're managed. If you'd like that, let me know down in the comments, and maybe hit that like button. It'd really help make a difference. And I'd like to say thank you so much for watching today's video. If you liked it, please hit that subscribe button down below so you can be here for my next video. I'll see you guys in the next one. Stay groovy. I was going to record a nice little intro out in a wilderness for you guys today, but of course I decided to choose the one day that it's literally snowing in Arizona, where I live.